We are live, more or less, from Las Vegas with Mark Anthony. I'm Rick Rosen, and this is Good Sports. Morning, buddy.
Yes,
What's
it
happening,
is.
man?
Hey, it's
Rainy
Yeah.
for Rock and Rio.
Ah,
Welcome to Vegas. Take a damn shower.
oh,
I would think the rain at the last day would have been more appropriate because some people ain't showering or doing anything but eating and jumping around.
yeah.
Much like Mayweather and Pacquiao, there's going to be a hell of a lot of tension going on the strip. Unfortunately,
man.
I don't know if they'd had music during the fight. One of the coolest memes I saw was they had Mayweather and Pacquiao in a prom, and they looked very appropriate in there. If they'd only had a formal on and a tux, they would have been the next couple.
Yes.
What a crappy fight. Do remember that I said it here. You heard it here first and often. It doesn't make for a good fight. Floyd's fights are never good fights. They're good boxing matches. They're wonderful examples of this is how you box, but they're not entertaining to watch. Mike couldn't sell a pay-per-view because they were ending too quick. Floyd Mayweather's never going to sell a pay-per-view because it's a damn boring. There's no other explanation for it, Mark. You can only watch the guy put the tiny little strokes on a painting with the tiniest little brush. After a while, you're like, yeah, okay. Show me something. Draw a car. Show me a clown face. Do something, and it never really gets to that. It's unfortunate. I mean, boxing had so much resting on it.
But it went for 12 rounds, though. Come on.
Of agonizing, grueling, boring rounds. People were booing in the second round. We did an interview on Vegas Lions Radio with Kenny Bayless, which I'm sure is up. The third man Kenny had to do stay awake. The stupidity. It was really cool of Kenny to come on with us on Vegas Lions Radio, and he's in Puerto Rico, spending his millions that Pacquiao got 140 million. Floyd got 160 million, or somewhere in that range. They split it up. However, it split up. They both made well over $100 million. This fight brought in close to $1 billion economy. Not just ticket sales and everything, but all the other nonsense that goes with it. When we had 300,000 people here, they figured to sit in 15,000 seats, and the other 285,000 of them were drinking and partying and eating and staying in rooms and way overpriced rooms just to be part of the event. It didn't work out. It was just a crap fight.
100.
And he said he was hurt. He hurt his shoulder.
1,336 private jets were parked at McCarran International Airport, or
Yes, and they all left with people that were disappointed that they had flown to damn Vegas for a fight that was crap. The undercard was better. It had to be. The guys walked out there and actually smacked each other. Manny Pacquiao throws flurries, and he went after Floyd. He tried. They learned what everybody else has learned. You can't hit Floyd Mayweather very solid. He has to make a mistake. You have to pin him in a corner or somewhere where he can't get out. Floyd's a masterful boxer, but Manny, his shoulder was hurt. I believe that. I talked to Kenny Bayless, asked him how the fight was, and of all things, he never mentioned that Manny looked hurt or was injured. And you and I both know that Kenny Bayless would have stopped the fight if you can't go on, you can't go on. So
right.
I've had the shoulder problems and everything you can do. It works. I mean, it just doesn't work quite as good. But the pain, it's something a boxer has to be pretty good at putting pain out of his mind because he's getting hit in the face a lot, or in the ribs, or whatever. So guys are, and now some assholes suing them. There are a couple assholes are suing them. Oh, we should have known before. Wait a minute. You like football? You like those guys to go out there and it's wrapped up and their bones sticking out, and was it Youngblood played the damn Super Bowl with a broken leg. You know, and we want these guys to go out there and shake it off. We expect our Marines to keep going until enough body parts left to move you forward. So for some moron to, we should have known beforehand. Like, that would have made it different.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't bad enough to call off the fight on his part, I applaud Manny for going ahead. He would have beat most people on earth had he been able to. But like I say, Manny throws his punches in bunches, and he averaged 12 landed punches a round. That is 4 landed punches per on the average one. But those punches all came in one little burst when he could finally get close enough and work a way to hit Floyd. He 8 or 10 punches at one time that landed. So the other 2 minutes and 30 seconds or whatever it was of the round, it was watch Floyd dance around and move away and throw the. It's not entertaining. It's just not entertaining unless you're an absolute purist boxing fan. So now there's not going to be a rematch. Floyd said he was open to a rematch, and now, of course, there won't be a rematch. Who the hell would pay for a rematch?
Exactly.
It's like, hey, Doc, I thanks for the root canal, but I think I got another one over here you might want to look at. Well, let's do the schedule for next week out there at the Secretary. So for $100 on pay-per-view, they'll never. Listen, like I said, they're a lot rest on Les Moonves and Showtime and HBO, all Les Moonves from CBS put this fight together, and pay-per-view numbers were out of this world. Everything worked, but it ain't good. P.T. Barnum will have to say, a hell of a lot more people to be born this minute for this fight for a rematch to ever sell. So it was it served its purpose financially one time, but in the long run, they're going to lose a hell of a lot more than they gained. The 2 fighters and their camps and whatever made a good chunk of change.
Yes,
but I mean, it's one of the things where they share wealth here in Las Vegas. They're very, very doing what's good for Las Vegas, opposed to what's good for the MGM or whomever. They're not real big on. They know other people are going to get some benefits, but they don't really. They had no choice but to share all the wealth and rooms. We went to a game on Saturday and watched the Twin Peaks there, which was sold out inside. I mean, it was packed and it was a great time and all that. But there were sold out signs on the rooms. I think, I don't know, Rosie's Den was busy on the way there, but there were people staying in Mesquite. Gene was sold out, Buffalo Bills, and I mean, all and on for 100 miles in any direction. You couldn't get a hotel room. There were people staying in St. George, Utah for the fight, and just traveling the 2.5 hours, whatever it is, back to Vegas. A lot of that money did actually make it to little people, but not enough of it to get me to ever do it again. We were lucky. We got to see the fight at Twin Peaks outdoors and had the great cold beer, and I think it was Twin Peaks Camelback there in Phoenix. And if you're ever here visiting and you get a chance to you want to go to a really nice place with beautiful women and really cold beer and really good food, and so we appreciate the hospitality. But anyway, we saw a real crappy fight, and the card was nondescript undercard. So anything done on that undercard would have been an anticlimactic for whatever. But it was just a BS night of of fighting. Kenny Bayless threw as many punches, or damn near landed as many punches as both fighters. He didn't really have to separate them. They stayed separated. That was the problem. Kenny had to tell him when the round was over. That's that bell. You can stop dancing. Go fill up your punch glass, man. We'll see you back here in a minute. And that's what it was. It was not even. Both fighters were unmarked, and which is kind of an odd thing with the little guys. They at least generally throw punches that'll draw a welt or make a cut or something. But that's anyhow. How about Deflategate, Mark?
The NFL's got so many image problems.
Issue. Oh yeah, yeah. We got Aaron Hernandez in prison. We got guys every conceivable thing you can think to do wrong, domestic violence and this and that and blah blah blah. And let's worry about the air pressure in the balls and talk about suspending Tom Brady and talk about crap. Give me a break. Here's the deal, Mark, and this is a point I don't think a lot of people have brought up, or how my to allow both teams to play with a different ball is stupid. That's like a baseball. Hey, listen, we want to bring our own balls. Screw you. Play with what we throw Roger Goodell's signature on it. It says NFL. Go play with the ball. When they send in the kick team or the punter goes in, they have their own particular balls that are not as inflated, that are beat up and worn and squeezed and roughed up a little bit. With, say you have a botched field goal attempt or a fake field goal attempt or a punter, they now become passers for the most part. And rarely do people run from a screwed up kicking position, whether it's punt or a kick. So they've got some instances where guys have had a ball under inflated, as much as this was, and threw it around, and there's no difference. There really is no palpable difference. And for God's sake, if you look at the tweaks, the rules change, and all that crap that the NFL does to improve the offense, they have taken everything away from the defense. If you fart in somebody's direction, it's 15 yards and a first down. And now they've discovered something that helps the damn offense without having to legislate a lot. Put however much air you'd like in the ball. And that ends okay, you want to play with the ball they're playing with, think they're cheating, then you can use the same ball. How much simpler could a solution be? It makes no difference whatsoever, Mark. None. Okay, if it's an advantage to a guy receiving, then it's obviously at least that big of an advantage, not more so, to the defense, who now have an easier ball to catch. You see a lot of times a guy will stick his hands up, and ball will bounce off of him. That's why he's on defense. He was fast. He's got no hands. So it helped the defense at least some. One of the Colts made an interception that didn't have a whole hell of a lot during the 5-7 was the final score of that game, Mark. The air pressure had nothing to do with it. And so then now they're talking about the Patriots are going to lose a draft pick. Tom Brady might be suspended, and it's all, yes, it is absolutely a zero factor. Other than that, I have no opinion. How about you?
Well, I like how they say, okay, you went into a championship game knowing the balls were deflated. Really? Come on. As a leader of the league, to allow a championship game to go on like that when apparently everyone knew that the balls were not legal. No.
They said they learned somewhere during the course of the game that there was, and I guess it was at the time of the interception, that they decided, hey, there's something, this ball's not as filled. You know what, Mark? We're at NASCAR, and guys are going 200 plus miles an hour on tires that they have varied amounts of air in. This team thinks 32 pounds works, and the team next to him 30 pounds works best, and nobody gives a damn. And these are guys going 200 miles an hour. Their lives are on the line on the integrity of those tires. The integrity of the ball. Brady has never hit anybody hard enough with a football to leave much more than a welt, much less kill them. And it is absolutely, the NFL knows that. I think that's the bigger question. If you know that a different air pressure in the ball leads to better football, why in the hell would you legislate all the crap that you've legislated and just simply say, put however much air in that ball you'd like, that you feel comfortable with, and go out there and play us a good game of football? And if we have goring, nobody goes to watch defense. People want to see the referee go like this. And when the referee goes like that, everybody's happy. So, okay, we've discovered something that's really simple to do to make the referee go like this a lot more. And now it's a bad thing. You know, and it's asinine. So
hands up, don't shoot.
yeah, and the run and shoot, I suppose, should be renamed.
well, it's kind of funny that when we talk about sports and all these issues that sports is having, all of the different leagues, we always come back to NASCAR. Here's a sport that everyone jokes about because it's a redneck sport. It was created by a bunch of moonshiners, but yet these guys know how to do marketing. They know how to do advertising. They, okay, once in a while they get a rule wrong, but I mean, the race doesn't start until everybody signs off on what they're supposed to sign off on, and then it's like, okay, go out and race, and they go out and race.
And here's the next deal, Mark. Like I said about the air pressure in the tires, they leave it up to the teams. What you put in is supposed to be in there, and then you deal with it as the tire heats up, builds up more pressure or whatever. They had a serious fine and a serious penalty to the Richard Childress Racing team. They were putting tiny little holes in the valve stem so that when it built up pressure during a run, it actually bled some of that pressure off to make an adjustment. Everybody else had to come into the pits and get new tires to make that adjustment. Ryan tires were self-adjusting simply because some of the air pressure was bleeding out, like a governor, somewhat on or a pressure release on your pressure cooker or whatever. It was a certain amount of pressure, and it relieved some of it. So that gave him a distinct advantage. And tainted a little Kevin Harvick, same team, same owner. Did that happen? I mean, Harvick has done some amazing things. So not quite as dominant out, but it is an air pressure issue, but it affects safety. And NASCAR came down with both feet right in the middle of Richard Childress Racing's chest. That's not good. However much air start with, leave it in there and deal with it. And so they found a way to cheat, and it is cheating. But that's what NASCAR is based on. They started with the Junior Johnson and the guys running moonshine and this and that. They're cheating the laws of the United States of America and running moonshine. That's NASCAR's roots. And they've gone, and it's always, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And they took really good. Robin Pemberton was a tremendous crew chief, and they put him in charge of catching other. He's kind of like the turncoat. It's like J. Edgar Hoover was Robin Banks and said, "Hey, wait a minute, you know what? They made me a better. I'm going to stop Robin Banks, and I'm going to help catch bank robbers." And that's what NASCAR has done with their abilities, or at least their efforts to catch real cheaters. And so Pemberton said, "Yeah, that's cheating, and that's just being competitive." So. Anyhow, I'm going to stand for a moment and turn on a light, Mark. I see that I'm darker than normal. And it is a nice dark day here in Las Vegas. There, how's that?
Yeah.
There I am.
There's your ugly face.
I've come out of the crypt. If you look behind me, over here, you'll see some credentials from some great fights, Mark. I'm looking at Ben versus Barkley, Hill versus Hearns, Tyson versus Ruddock, Michael Nunn, Starling, Douglas and Holyfield. Who the hell else is up there? Foreman and Ellis. There's just a whole bunch of good fights. The Mayweather Pacquiao fight wasn't one of them. Deflategate again, Mark. It's so much ado about nothing. It had nothing, zero, to do with the final score of that game, 45-7. You could have put BB there. You could have filled that with helium or some unknown element that some clown just really discovered in China. It wouldn't have mattered. And a very, very simple solution is to let the referees have hold of the balls to change them in and out. Okay, these guys did 4 and out or whatever the hell it was, and the oncoming offense could say, "We want to use the same ball." Okay,
go for it.
Okay, no, problem solved. If it's got to be an advantage for the other, you're getting it off, their defense gets to touch it and whatever. So use the same damn ball. They've got so specialized that they've screwed themselves, in this whole deal. So, speaking of screwing themselves, man, hit his 661st home run, passing Willie Mays for fourth on the all-time list.
A-Rod.
A-Rod. He's still hitting home. Obviously, they're incredibly good at hiding steroids now, or he didn't do it. A-Rod was the sure thing. He was very much like LeBron James to basketball. They knew early on when A-Rod was playing down in Miami as a high schooler that he was a hell of a baseball player, and he has proven that correct. I think much like Barry Bonds, he was a Hall of Famer before he ever stuck a needle in his ass, and should still be considered a Hall of Famer. But there will always be the taint of the home run that he's hit, and he hit quite a few of them without the benefit of steroids or human growth hormone or whatever he's charged with doing, Mark. So it really is a tough situation. Willie Mays, played in San Francisco, at least half of his games played there, and to have 660 home runs in San Francisco, he was at 1,000. A lot of people believe he would have certainly the number one guy if he played in a little bull ring, a small little place like Fenway Park. Imagine what Willie Mays does with that porch there. Imagine what Willie Mays does at Yankee Stadium. I don't think it's a real stretch to think that Willie's got screwed out of at least 100 or so home runs by playing in the hurricane center that is called Candlestick Park. It blew frickin' the mound. The wind blows so hard, and it's always blowing in. It never blew out. The wind never went from the home plate out. The guy that built the place didn't really have the understanding of baseball, or he would have turned it around and let the wind blow out for the home team. They play half their games here. Everybody else has to come in and kind of get used to it. So, A-Rod's a hell of a player, and the guy come back after a year, and he's 40 years old, and he's still hitting home runs. He's a tremendous baseball player, but that there is going to be tainted. I wonder how many of those home runs that A-Rod has hit came off of pitchers using steroids. Roger Clemens, it's Andy Pettit. You go down the list. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, batters were on steroids, but the pitchers were on steroids too. Back to zero. Back to level playing field. That's exactly what that represents, Mark. So you can't take it out of context. Well, I was on steroids and hit home runs. Yeah, so were the pitchers. So Babe Ruth never had to. Ever had to face a roided up pitcher. Barry Bonds did. Certainly A-Rod has. These guys from this generation, Rafael Palmeiro, Juan Gonzalez, all guys with those 500 home runs. Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, all the guys under the big bangers that are tainted by this steroids nonsense are also somebody has to do some explaining. Well, the pitchers were doing it. So if you had 2 or 3 miles an hour ball or durability to my ability to stay in a game past the 5th inning, and now I go into the 7th inning, all those things factor in. So, baseball is a league, an entity that is able to quantify damn near everything, but they're going to have a real tough time. Everybody gets an asterisk, and the steroids era, they're wanting to separate that from the real era. But now, all right, then how do you account for Tommy John surgery? We've taken something out of a guy's hip and put it in his elbow so he can continue to pitch and continue to play. And is that really much more? I mean, you're rearranging body parts. How much more ethical is that than taking steroids to make the body part stronger in the first place? So if a guy takes steroids and builds up his elbow and doesn't need Tommy John surgery, is that really worse than the guy, damn, I blew out my elbow. If I'd only taken steroids, it might have hung in there on its own, but now I need you to take something out of my butt and put it over here in my arm so I can still, enthrall people with my pitching prowess. So I think I really don't know if there's a simple answer, but A-Rod is the poster boy right now and it's a much bigger issue than just A-Rod and how they deal with it, because baseball is so dependent upon their numbers. When I was a kid, you knew everybody's batting average down to probably the 25th guy.
Right.
You had a real good idea of what their batting averages were. You knew where guys were in the home run chase. Until George Foster hit 50 for the Cincinnati Reds, it had been a hell of a long time since somebody hit 50 home runs in a year. Now 50 is like, well, that's a good start. Guys have 50 in June now, and speaking of June, they call it the June swoon. When teams get off to a good start and come back to earth, they call it the June swoon. And the Cubs are famous for that. The Colorado Rockies were pounding sand in everybody's butt right until recently. Now they're like 11-15. They're going to lose Troy Tulowitzki, one of the greatest players, one of the greatest shortstops ever. Certainly a guy that swings a mean bat. And he and Cargo are going to leave the Rockies if they don't do something quick. They finally got rid of their crap front office, Dan O'Dud, and that group that's put that together. But they back to earth. The Kansas City Chiefs stayed up on top. But if you look, just exactly what Mets are in first place, and so are the Yankees. And speaking of Mets, the farm team here, the 51s, Noah Syndergaard was the PC Player of the Week last week, and he's a guy who would be up with he would be up, but they don't really have room for him. They don't have any need for him. Later on in the season, somebody will go down, somebody will have a problem, and Syndergaard's going to get his chance. And I think he's going to be a very, very good major league pitcher. He's got the size, he's got the fastball, he's got the things the intangibles that you need. The kid's really put together well. I think his head's right there on top of his shoulders where it's supposed to be instead of up his butt. So they look like the real deal. And man, if you want the closest thing you're probably going to see to a Major League Baseball team here anywhere else but a Major League park, it's going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada with the 51s, because they are a very, very well-stocked team. The Rockies, I guarantee you right now, the 51s can give the Rockies and teams like that at the bottom end of the rung a real run for their money with just the staff that they have here. Now, it's like people talk about in the NCAAs, oh, Kentucky could beat an NBA team and blah, blah, blah. Nah, not really. But a AAA team, given the big boys a run for their money, yeah, and this AAA team that we have here in Las Vegas, the 51s, could certainly do that. There's plenty of teams that would trade their entire roster straight up for this 51s roster. So if you want to go watch Major League Baseball before it gets to be Major League prices, go to the 51s game. The dollar beer nights on Thursdays. How do you screw that up?
Yeah. Beer night.
Okay, back to dollar beer. They're not real big beers. You're not getting the $13.50 the Major League beer. At Candlestick, or where do they play at 3Com now? Where who knows? And they got many names now. It used to just be the Rose Bowl or the Orange Bowl, but then it started the Poulan Weed Eater Bowl. That seemed to be the opening salvo in that war.
Candlestick Park is gone.
Speaking of wars. Yeah, Candlestick Park it should have been gone a long time ago. Good, all the earthquakes and everything they have there. Nothing ever knocked down the damn park so they could build a real one. So now they've got it. And it's better, I guess, a little, but they don't seem to be hitting a whole lot of more home runs. But the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Mets are all in first place, and Major League Baseball really, really would like the end of the season to be right now and just start a really long playoffs, because you've got Los Angeles and New York represented and the big urban centers, and it's the East Coast, West Coast, and all that. So things tend to look like they're so far playing into Major League Baseball's hands. Now, other issues, Mark. Different leagues, different leagues do their discipline differently. Some leagues have a very strong players union, and they have already legislated if you're charged with this or this, it's a suspension until things are resolved, and they kind of let things run their natural course. Other leagues and entities do not have a strong union, and certainly the UFC doesn't have much. Because if you look at a fight where the fighters were getting $160 million or so for one damn fight, and you look at the UFC, and if a guy makes $1 million, it's a huge thing. You know, I mean, Mayweather throws out $1 million in bills that he didn't like the Social Security. I mean, the numbers on, the serial numbers on. So, you know, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. But Jon Jones was really one of, if not the superstar in the UFC, and he had a hit and run, and he left the scene, and the lady was, I believe, she was pregnant and she was injured. I don't believe she died, but she was injured, and our friend Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta went to where Jon Jones was, and I think it was in Florida, and they went down there to get his side of the story, which really, again, they don't have a process that's in a collective bargaining agreement or anything like that. They came away and said, screw him, and they stripped his title, and he is not going to be in the UFC until his legal troubles are over, and that's a huge, huge moment that really says, hey, you know, we're not going to put up with this stuff, and they haven't, and now you've got your big star, and they did not wait a long time. They went down there as quickly as they could get down there, said, tell us what happened, and I guess he told them, and they said, okay, there's no real good explanation for leaving the scene of an accident where you've left a pregnant injured and you took off, and I don't care how scared you are or how good you are or whatever, you're suspended. And so that's where the UFC finds themselves with. You know, we haven't talked about all day already, Mark. One of a couple of the biggest stories that occur in May are the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and the Indy 500. And the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness always in May, 2 weeks apart. And Kentucky Derby has many Triple Crown hopefuls. The Preakness won because the winner comes out of the Kentucky Derby, and there was some conjecture that maybe American Pharoah wasn't going to run in the Preakness, but he's decided, yeah. And then there'll be a couple of horses that have not had to run the first two races that are just training for the Belmont, that 1.5 mile marathon that is the Belmont Stakes. None of these 3-year-olds have ever run 1.5 miles with a jockey on their back and people betting on them until they get to the Belmont. It takes a different training routine than it does for the 1 3/16 Preakness, which is the race before. You know, you're going 5/16 of a mile further, and that's a long ways to go further. So it takes them, and I think they changed the rules to make you had to qualify for the Kentucky Derby. Used to be you put up, I think it was $100 or something nomination fee early on. I think as 2-year-olds they had to nominate them, and then all that money went into a pool. And then as it got closer, you had to put an additional $10,000 or something like that up to actually get them entered in the Kentucky Derby. And then they had every Tom, Dick, and Harry that had $10,000 or $10,100 laying around and owned a horse to enter them in the Kentucky Derby. So they had to start qualifying. You have to have a wins, a money won, and they have to be quality wins, grade 1 wins, et cetera, et cetera. So their big moment, their big thing is the Triple Crown. And we haven't had a Triple Crown winner affirmed. Was the last, you know, it was Seattle Slew and affirmed in back-to-back years. And then we haven't had anything since 1978. Not a Triple Crown winner. And they've had some incredibly close calls. Smarty Jones, yep. Spectacular Bid, on and on. A lot of horses have won the first two. And horse racing really needs a Triple Crown winner. But they keep stepping on their own penis by allowing horses to lay in the weeds and not have to run all three. And if they'd at least say, okay, you got to run one of the first two, that would level the playing field. To get into the Belmont, they have qualifying for the Kentucky Derby. Why should the Belmont Stakes be any different? Whoever wants to run in the Preakness, but you have to run one of the first two to run the third one, seems like a pretty reasonable, sane rule and I think it would go a long ways towards making a Triple Crown winner and reinvigorating horse racing, which is really, we talked to Johnny Avello the week of the Kentucky Derby about the fight in the Kentucky Derby and around in the Wind, Mark, and I mean it's a very well populated, very popular race venue. I think, didn't Johnny say they had 12 tracks going at one time there, and we were there in midday, and but there was 30 people, 40 guys in there, in the race and sports book doing the sports thing, and sport racing. I mean, horse racing really needs a Triple Crown winner, and so now it's up to American Pharoah, a horse that would probably be a little more popular, and I don't know if it's a racist thing, or I don't know what the thing is, but I don't think the horse is near as popular because he's owned by an Egyptian fella, and well known, obviously the name of it. American Pharoah and Dortmund ran 1-3, and they were the two chalk horses in the race. Had they run 1-2, it would have been a pittance of a payoff. I mean, you would have got more than you should have got because there was 18 other horses in them. The Preakness is probably going to be a much better show of who's the nuts in the deal. Dortmund out front for a long time, and American Pharoah didn't seem to mind that he had to run, because he was out 18. He had to run a lot more distance than those horses snuggled up against the rail, and he didn't seem to overly extend himself to win that race. So he's going to win the Preakness. Nobody's laying in the weeds to meet him at the Preakness, and he'll just turn on the jets coming out of that fourth turn and blow everybody away. There's nobody that can run with this horse at this distance. You take a 16th of a mile off, he just hits the gas a little earlier, and I don't see any horse that I saw in the Kentucky Derby that looks like they can beat him at a 16th of a mile less. Now, when you get to the Belmont, different story. There are horses that are simply training for that race, and for him to win, it's not going to be Secretariat's 31 length victory. But this horse looks like he's got the real chops to get it done. If they don't screw him like they have so many times. So, but that's just how horse racing goes. Horse racing and boxing happen on the same day, and nobody even talked about the Kentucky Derby, which was that's the ultimate. It used to be a big saver for the race and sports books. Kentucky Derby people who don't really realize that the tail is on which end and the head is on the other end of a horse. They would know a racehorse from a plow horse, yet they put their earned money down because I think this horse with the pretty tail or the jockey with the pink. That's how they bet. And so it was a big day for the race and sports books. I think somebody brought in the same amount of money and they split it between the Kentucky Derby and the fight, as opposed to two separate days when they would have brought money for the fight and money for the Kentucky Derby. So it's kind of like a kid having his birthday on Christmas. Yeah, okay. Here I got you a nicer gift to make up for both. So it could have been a better timing. And here we are, Mark. We're the 8th of May. And we haven't said a word about the Indianapolis 500, which Jeff Gordon is going to drive the pace car for the Indy 500. And last year, Kurt Busch had to hop in a helicopter as soon as the 500 and jet down to Charlotte for the World 600. So he's going to damn near do the same thing, although he's not driving the entire Indy 500 race. But he's going to take off and fly in a helicopter and get down to Charlotte. And I don't know if they plan on him being there in time for the driver meeting, but if you missed the meeting, and so I guess it's important for Jeff to, he's an Indiana kid now. He come out of California, moved to Indiana so he could race the midgets and the USAC Sprint Cups when he was a kid. Now he finally gets to be in the Indy 500. I think he always wanted to drive there. I think you may see Jeff Gordon, as he retires from NASCAR, take a shot at running an Indy 500 or two. Tony Stewart did it pretty successfully, and the NASCAR guys went to Indianapolis several decades ago. But the Allison brothers ran. several NASCAR guys went down and said, "Hey, we can drive these little light ones too, because they don't have to haul something weighs 3,500 pounds around. Little light bullets, but anyway, Gordon's gonna kind of do the semi double duty. Danica, big news in NASCAR. Danica Patrick no longer going to be associated with GoDaddy. They're expanding theirs to global exposure rather than just the NASCAR group, and it worked. Danica brought a lot of publicity that NASCAR would not have otherwise been able to have, because she is good looking and she can race. When you look, okay, she finished 16th. Yeah, she finished 16th. There's something to be said for that. Only 15 other people on earth could drive a race car faster than Danica Patrick that day and her team. So it's not that small of a thing, but she certainly gave them the exposure that they wanted. It remains to be seen. It's a money-driven sport, and she's going to have to come up with a sponsor, or her and Stewart Haas Racing are going to have to give her the sponsorship that she needs to be competitive. She can be just out there back of the pack. That doesn't do anybody any good. But it's going to be kind of sad to not see Danica in the bright green GoDaddy car.
The green. Yes.
Yeah. Where under the green?
But
so, other than that,
okay. Well, GoDaddy's under their new owners are, they're making some radical changes, but I don't think they're going to make as much money as they used to without her than they did with her. So,
yeah, everybody knows about GoDaddy now. It's kind of like people some of the sports guys were get invited into this fight. Why do they need you into the fight? Why should they give you a seat that they could get $5,000 for? Well, the tickets are already sold. They don't need you. And GoDaddy probably doesn't need Danica anymore. It's your purpose, and that's like the first stage of a rocket. Okay, it got us up there. Now we're gonna fire off the second stage and get up into orbit. And certainly Danica has given GoDaddy as much exposure as most any athlete on earth could. Did that, and now you served your usefulness. Have a nice day, and off they're going to go, and they're going to be a world. I think you'll see them in Formula One or those kind of things. But when you think of getting a website, a whole hell of a lot of people say, "Oh, GoDaddy." They have the Super Bowl commercials and all those things. Although they didn't have it this year because of some political correctness that have to do with Danica and stupid things. Stupid things.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Politically correct. If ever there was an oxymoron, what is correct about politics? Show me one thing.
Okay. Okay. So now we're at that time of the year where we have every sport except football. I mean, you have auto racing. You have the hockey playoffs. You got the basketball.
Which we haven't mentioned yet. Yep.
Yeah. Baseball's warming up. Everything.
Yeah, you bet. They're in there. This is the first of the race for them. This is the first lap, and whoever's out in front has a big advantage. And long seasons, hockey's not going to crown the Stanley Cup champion until next month. They've been playing since October. It's a long frickin' time to play hockey. And you're right, Mark. We haven't talked about the king is dead. Long live the king. The San Antonio Spurs got knocked off by the Clippers. And Chris Paul was out, and Blake Griffin got a triple-double to lead the Clippers, who now are not having ownership issues. No more Donald Sterling distraction or whatever. And the Clippers have a legitimate shot at winning this NBA championship. LeBron James, Kyrie Irving are having to go it alone. Kevin Love, what a cheap shot. Kevin Love got to dislocate his shoulder and put him out for probably most, if not all, of the playoffs. I think they would have to make the championship round for him to have any chance of coming back. So he was counted on big time. I mean, that was the missing piece of the puzzle. But the Cavaliers are still standing, and they're there. The Blackhawks are good. The Bulls, Chicago is well represented in the playoffs. The Detroit Red Wings have been put out of the NHL playoffs. So the Stanley Cup, not going to have Detroit's names, et cetera, on there. So, yeah, you're right, Mark. There's so much going on. Some things just get lost in the shuffle. I mean, my God, the Kentucky Derby and the Indy 500 have got lost in the shuffle. If you think of huge sporting events for America, I don't know if there's two Super Bowl. They're in the top 5. Both of them are in the top 5. I mean, there's people whose lives revolve around getting to Indianapolis once a year and hearing Jim Neighbors sing "Back Home Again" in Indiana. And who gives a damn? Our buddy Sam Schmidt from Las Vegas had a monumental move forward. Sam Schmidt was a very, very good open wheel racer, and what a personality. The guy used to ride his bike all around the pits and everything, and you knew when Sam was coming, and he hasn't lost that personality. He lost his ability to walk and use his arms. He's a quadriplegic. He broke his back in a terrible racing accident, backed it into the wall and snapped his spine, and he's but now he's a team owner. He's won the Indy 500. He does all these things, but Sam Schmidt was driving a race car again that they made that he controls with his eyes, and they call it hand-eye coordination. He controls it with his thing that goes in their mouth that he blows air into or whatever. And I think they said he got up to like 120, 125 miles an hour in this race car, and he said it felt wonderful. And they talk about driving by the seat of your pants. Well, I don't know if he can feel down in the seat of his pants, but it was wonderful to see Sam Schmidt get an opportunity to go faster than the 4 or 5 miles an hour that his wheelchair would go. Yeah. And they put him in that car, and they're about driverless trucks going to be on the highways very soon, and driverless this and blah blah blah. Sam Schmidt was in that car, and that technology has made it possible for a man to drive a car that has no use of his hands, or incredibly limited use of his hands and his feet, and for all the guys coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and all the veterans and all the people, we're in Veterans Day month and Memorial Day, all the people that have come back injured and unable to do their daily routines, all the people that you see not only in America but worldwide. That's a huge step to give somebody that mobility. I ride the bus, and the Americans with Disabilities Act has allowed people to have access where they used to not be able to get around simply because there were things that no one else considered an impediment that were in the way. Whether it was a curb at an intersection that they couldn't get their wheelchair up and down, they had until they found a driveway. Now all the intersections, or damn near all of them, have a slope down where somebody has access on their wheelchairs or their motorized wheelchairs. And Sam Schmidt took a huge step forward in driving this vehicle without the use of his arms and legs. And so, we're going to see that application, Mark, come to mainstream disabled human beings in the not very distant future at all. Now that we just got to figure out how they can get in and out of the car. That's not to, turns to its side and lets a guy get out of his wheelchair and get in. And I'm sure people will find that very, very cool to be able to just put your convertible top down and take off and let the air rush through your hair at more than, like I say, 5 miles an hour. If not, these people have been confined to the insides of a bus or a van or whatever, and then we get out, and yes, you can make it around in the grocery store or whatever. But when you're a guy that has that need for speed, that's what that's what fueled your fire for all your life until a tragic day that it cost you your ability to walk and to use your arms successfully. To get that back, man, I think it's a huge thing. So congratulations to Sam Schmidt.
Damn right.
Indy 500, now there's guys, Helio Castroneves, guys going for the record, AJ Voigt at 4, Rick Mears at 4, so many guys at 4. The Holy Grail is 5, Indy 500 wins, and there's guys approaching that pretty quickly. So Going to be interested to see how that shakes out. They don't have carburation day anymore because they don't have carburetors. It's all fuel injection. So they used to have carburation day, and it used to be the month at Indianapolis, and it was on the news 2 or 3 nights of a week. What happened at Indy, and guys would get out there and figure it out. And you I don't know if you're old enough to remember when Leonard was the guy that broke that turned a lap in 45 seconds, which is 200 miles an hour, and he was the first guy to average on that flat Indy 500. And it's only what are we away 20 days away, something like that, 22 days, somewhere in there, Mark, a couple 3 weeks. And qualifying they've refigured that, reconfigured everything like they have in all the sports, Mark. It's TV right, and money and whatever. So we have 1,000 teams in the NBA playoffs and 1,000 teams in the NHL playoffs, and everybody and their mother makes the NFL playoffs, and so Indy it's kind of come around and said, okay, here's what we need to do, and here's how we're going to accomplish it. So right, they've lost some of their luster. They just lost it because there's so much else going on, Mark. There's so many other things that are on. You now have you have cable vision, Mark. Do you have cable TV?
Yes. Yes, I
do. When I was a kid, I remember when the Third Network, when we finally got an ABC channel in Pueblo, Colorado, it was a big deal. They were the third one. You had CBS and NBC, and then you finally got they put the station up in Colorado Springs, and we were able to view the Third Network. And now, how many channels do you have available, Mark? Even at the lower tier, I think it's 55 channels.
Too many.
You can watch them all. And it's like that's what's happened. That's what's happened to our sports. People are doing this. They're looking at their cell. Everybody. You see people doing this at the fight, at the game, at the whatever. They're with the damn thing on their cell phones, or they're telling somebody about. Oh, and you see them doing that. It's the entire world of sports has changed.
Damn sports.
Look what we're doing. Mark, used to be talk. Nobody knew what the hell I looked like. Now,
nobody wants to.
I have to wipe my nose and shave a little.
Get dressed.
Do the things that are important. So, by the way, before we go, Mark, dvegastours.com.
Hey, we do need to bring back the women, though. I mean, I do miss that. Okay.
Is that? Are you talking about I have a duty now? I have an opportunity to do something to better the show by simply procuring women.
Hey, you used to bring on some hot women, okay? And okay, yes, it's nice having this audio, but the video.
Last week's guest with us, Mary. Mary was here last week.
Yeah,
our producer Mary.
Though. She had clothes on though.
Well, I suppose what you could see was. I mean, a lot there, pal. I mean, this is Rick we're talking, okay?
Look at our archives and tell me those were not fun shows.
Oh, those were wonderful shows. Oh my! Larry Flint Hustler Club was a tremendous place to host a show, as was Treasures. We've done shows, several strip clubs. Do you want to do one again? You want to road trip?
Twist my arm. Go ahead. Twist my arm.
Okay. And our friends at Treasures again, 4 to 6 every day. $1 drinks, $1 beers. They got some stuff going on. 6 to 8. What's the place across from the Hard Rock, Mark? They have an open bar now.
Club Paradise.
From 6 to 8 in the afternoon. Paradise doing an open bar from 6 to 8. I don't know if they charge you to get in. We'll have to call them for details. If you really like good-looking women, if you really like to do a show with good-looking women all around, we can always go back to Twin Peaks, because you not only get the cold beer, you get the warmest, sweetest, dearest babes bringing your food and your ice cold beer, and the food's great there. But I'm telling you, if Dave Flowers, our friend at Twin Peaks, if captains of ships can do weddings, you would think the manager of Twin Peaks should at least be able to give me a 3-day pass or something, and I would get down on one knee for Jules there, our waitress at Twin Peaks, and She knows I love her, so that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Wrap it up.
You want to go back to Twin Peaks and do another show?
Love to. Would love to.
Okay. Well, we can do that. Before the Vegas Lions, the APFL playoffs this weekend, the Southern California Sharks, SoCal Sharks, are going against the, I want to say, the team out of Oceanside, I believe is the championship here, Mark, and they've already had a couple games this year. It was a very shortened season, spring season. They had 4 teams who got a leg up on this deal for the fall season. So if you're anywhere near Palm Springs this weekend, you want to see some good football. APFL pro football, it is a very good brand of football, and we look forward to being with the Lions for this fall. We're going to do some things with them on the air, Mark, and I'm looking forward to that. So, are we ready to get out of here, man? Are you done? Are you done listening to me? Are you tired of me yet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen? All right, man. Well, Mark, thanks so much, and to all our listeners out there, we want to give a shout out to Con down in Silver City, New Mexico. He's way the heck down there, man.
Wow.
But we have some loyal followers and some loyal listeners, and we appreciate them all. So, well, for Mark Anthony, I'm Rick Rosen, and this has been Good Sports. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week.
Next week.
Right here. Good night.